What's up, guys? Frank Macaluso here from Garageaholic, giving you yet another episode of the E31 S85 behind me. Today we're going to be taking care of a little bit of rust on the jack stand on the driver's side rear. Just a little bit of rust. We got to patch up a couple of areas, clean everything up, and just weld it all up so it's nice and strong again, because when we jack up the car, we don't want it to fall apart. We have a little bit of rust to take care of today. No big deal. Enjoy this episode, guys. I hope you learned something. Okay guys, as you can see here on this rear jack lifting pad, we do have some rust we need to deal with. On the other side, I'll show you in a second, there are no holes here. These holes need to be patched and replaced, or at least reinforced back to its old standard way. And let's take a look at the other side actually. So you can see this side is actually well intact, and there are this sheet metal all around this enclosure. This is where you jack up the car from. If you wanted to stick something inside of here, you could jack up the car too. There's other things that people can buy that you can stick in there, and there's a pad, and that pad you can use on the jack to lift it and lower it. But for me, in terms of, or anybody using to put this car in a lift, this needs to be fully intact. So let's go to the other side again. What we need to do is we need to clean all this up, and then we need to figure out and cut this out, and then weld in a new panel right in its place. This actually looks like it's pretty strong, so I'm not really too worried about this location here, but I really want to try to get this all reinforced again and get rid of all the rust that's located here. So let's clean up and then go from there. So there's 3 steps in fixing any rust issue. First, clean. Clean the affected area. I find that using this angle grinder, this portable angle grinder with a wire disc is actually the best way to do it. Stage 2 is cut. That's where you want to actually cut the metal, but you want to template it as well. When you template at the same time as you cut, you know that you're cutting your template to the exact way that you actually cut the frame. So you make your template, and then you mark it, and then you cut, so your template fits the actual cuts that you made on the frame. It's a really good method of doing it. I'll show you how to do that. And the third is weld. When we re-weld, we got to stitch weld this all together, and then sand it all down, grind it down, and make it look like it belonged here. To the best of my ability, I will try to do that. Remember, this is all going to be covered by the side skirt, so I'm not too concerned about aesthetics. I do want it to be strong, and I do want it to prevent, I do want no more rust. I want no more rust, no more left. All right, so anyway, that's what we want to do. I'll work on the English, I'll work on the presentation later. So this is the damage. You can see here where I grinded away as far back as I could until I saw no more pitting and rust. And it looks like there's going to be a line that's going to go right around here, around underneath, and across and down. I'm going to cut all this out. And then rebuilding it will not nearly be as difficult as you might think. So this is the sheet metal I want to use. This is 11 gauge, which is a little bit thicker than what's already on the car. I believe it's 16 gauges on the car. And this is, I want to cut this, and I want to bend it as best as I can, and then just tack it in locations. But I'm going to be using a couple of different tools in order to make this happen. I'm just trying to think as I'm talking here when it comes to this. I think I want to use what's called a shrinker stretcher. This is what they are. They're basically made by Eastwood, and you put the metal inside. I can actually show you in a minute. Let me show you. So this is called a shrinker stretcher. There's a blue one here. This is the shrinker, right? And then this guy here is the stretcher. You can see that as it grips the metal and you continue to push, it stretches the metal. Right, this is really good for making 3-dimensional bends. And I plan to use this to make the curves along the actual side skirt so that it conforms as best as possible. And I can actually take this and I can bring it over to the car and I could shrink and then test fit, stretch, test fit. I could continue to go back and forth to make sure that the fit is as perfect as possible. Now, what I really need to do before I do any cutting is I need to make my template. And I need to make my template out of, probably out of cardboard first, and then cut it out of steel, and then start shrinking and stretching, fit it over, and then start making my cuts. So it's a very iterative process. Okay, so let's focus on the first piece, right? I think I want to break this up into 3 different sections. The first section is this guy. And this is actually going to be the most important. This guy's going to end up going right over here. It's going to basically touch along this edge. It's going to wrap around, and it's going to curve in a little bit and out, and it's going to stitch up along this side and then close it on the back. Now, that's going to be the first piece. We got to focus on that first. I also want to make another piece that kind of goes over this and kind of covers this as well. And that's kind of basically tie them all together. And it's probably going to curve up here and actually weld right to this. The third piece is going to be this guy, and it's going to come down and over and around. So it's going to cut all this. I'm going to cut all this out. I'm going to make a piece just like that. Those are the 3 main pieces I think I want to make. And I also need to take care of the back side too, because as you can see, hello. So I got to fix that one too. But that's just a straight piece of metal, and I might just cut all this out. And obviously I'm going to cut this out, but that's going to be a 4th piece actually that I'm going to have to do at the end. Okay, so let's get started on the actual cardboard cutout here for this guy. This is the most complicated piece, so let's do that one first. Okay, so taking a look here, as you can see, I cut out back here as well because I want to weld this guy and I want to weld this guy at the same time. This is the piece of metal that I use. This is basically an 11 gauge piece of sheet metal, and it fits right smack in there. Fits like that. Accommodates the lip on the underside. And this guy here, right, this guy will end up getting welded up top, and I'm going to hammer it around the edge, and it's going to clip onto the bottom piece here as well. So I want to get these 2 pieces on, and then I can start working on this guy here as well as this one here. So evidently, as you can see in the video, I did have to cut out this piece right here, okay? I made a new piece out of 11 gauge sheet metal, once again, and I'm going to be patching it up right in here. I'm not going to be able to recreate the bead that you see here. It's a strengthening bead, but I am going to be putting this cross bracing in here, so everything will end up getting welded and structurally sound at that point. But yeah, I had to cut out more rust than I thought. The back side of this panel was all covered in rust. So I couldn't even weld it. It just went right through. So I don't even know why I tried. I shouldn't even have tried. I should just cut it out and just put a new panel in right then and there. So now I'm doing it. Let's finish this up. Get this guy in, get that guy in. The back side is kind of already in, so we got to work on that next. Okay, so after a little bit of welding and cutting, I was able to get the new piece welded in. I also got the back side welded in. I welded all of this. As you can see, I welded all the inside weld, right? But I do want to finish up that welds inside. And I welded all the way around the back. Once I seam seal all that, or paint it, prime it,
weather seal it. Then it's time to weld the other piece, which is going to end up looking something like this. Just like that. It's going to wedge right inside of here. Just like that. And then it's going to curve underneath. And I already said that before, so enough saying and more doing. Go on just like that. Okay, fills that space in quite nicely, and I need to bend it in there a little bit and get that settled in. But overall, this is actually going to fit pretty nice. This bead will be grinded down. You will never even know that it's there. All right, I know my face is dirty. I've been doing a lot of metal work, and I really want this to be right. I want it to look good, but I was trying to save you guys some time and do all of the work, and then kind of show you the end result. But I ran out of MIG wire. I got to wait a few more days for new MIG wire to come in. But here's what I got so far. You can see that I got this bottom piece in. I got it stitched on. I do need to grind this all down and smooth it out. I do need to get the top up here finished. And I gotta curve it around, and then I gotta stitch it to underneath here, sand all this down, flap wheel it all, and then I gotta prime it and then get it ready for paint. But I have to make sure that everything is sealed. All these little holes, all these little misses in the welds, all need to be completely sealed up. And as I finish that, that will complete this project.
Now let's finish this thing in one big ass time lapse and finish this video once and for all.
And there you have it, guys. This is as complete as it's going to be for now. I do need to lay a coat of primer on here. I want to let the seam sealer VOCs dry up and escape before I put any primer on here. And then obviously the primer is going to go on the inside. It's going to go around the backside, right around here. And then obviously the paint is going to go over all that. So this is rock hard, rock solid. This thing is good to go. I am very proud. I am very proud of this. Actually, this is a very complicated bend that took about 3 or 4 pieces to make. I ended up not using the shrinker stretcher, but I will show you that in another video, whether it's the E31 or whether it's the E30 N54. I will be doing a shrinker stretcher episode, I'm sure. But for now, this is as complete as it's gonna get. The rust on this car is completely gone. There is no more rust on this. This was the biggest and only
part of rust that needed to be addressed. Everything else is surface rust, especially on the subframe, the front subframe, and we're gonna end up taking care of that on future episodes as we go through and start to really tear this down and rebuild it from the ground up in 2020. Guys, thank you so much for watching. My name is Frank Macaluso from Garageaholic, and I would love it if you keep on liking and subscribing. Hit that like button, tell your friends about what I'm doing. This car is going to blow up next year when it is done. Not blow up, bad choice of words. This car is going to be doing really well, and I'm really excited to see this thing run on the streets and on the road and get it fired up and driving. I've been waiting a very long time for this. This build is going to be epic, so I'm really excited to continue to share that with you guys. Thank you so much. Guys, take it easy and stand by for the next episode, huh? Later.